What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 6 Sleeper Picks.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to give you some of my top DFS sleeper picks for NFL Week 6.
Super low priced and low ownership players that could crush value this week and give your lineup an advantage over the field. These are risky plays, meant for large tournaments only. Don't go all in on any of these guys. They are high risk, high reward picks. And if you stay to the very end after all my picks and after I show you the Draft Dashboard tools, I'll give you my super secret sleeper pick that no one's talking about.
Okay guys, FanDuel and DraftKings Week 6 sleeper picks. At the quarterback position, I like Kirk Cousins from the Minnesota Vikings playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins has scored 14.1 fantasy points per game on the season, but he scored 24 fantasy points last week. He's got a home game this week. He's got some weapons, guys. He's only going to be about 3% owned. That's super low ownership for a guy with 24 plus point upside. He's projected at 16.1 fantasy points here in week 6. He's only $5,200 DraftKings salary and $1,800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Vikings favored by 3.5. I think they can get Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen going again, and I think the momentum continues here in week 6. So I like Kirk Cousins here versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Another sleeper pick that I like is Gardner Minshew from the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the New Orleans Saints, who have the 12th worst defense overall and give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew has scored 19.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 27 fantasy points last week. He's been super consistent since starting in the NFL. He's only going to be about 5% owned. He rushes the ball about 4 times per game, got 7 rushes last game. So those rush yards add to his floor, add to his ceiling. He's projected at 17.1 fantasy points here in week 6. He's only $5,000 DraftKings salary and $1,900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 43.5 points in this game. They've got Jacksonville favored by 2. This is a home game, so I like Gardner Minshew here versus the New Orleans Saints.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And then we'll send you $100 PayPal.
So it's that easy,
and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video.
So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, DraftKings and FanDuel, Week 6, sleeper picks at the running back position. So you've got 2 running backs from the same game going against the worst running defense in the league. So I like Chris Thompson from the Washington Redskins playing the Miami Dolphins, who give up the absolute most fantasy points overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Chris Thompson has scored 11.7 fantasy points per game on the season. He's been closer over double digits in his last 3 games, only averaging 4 rush attempts per game, but he gets 7 targets per game. So think of him as a wide receiver with a little bit of rushing upside as well. He's only going to be about 2% owned versus the worst team in the NFL versus the running back position. He's projected at 12.5 fantasy points here in week 6. He's $5,000 DraftKings salary and $400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 42 points scored in this game. They have the Redskins favored by 4.5, so it could be a running game script. And if they fall behind, you can rely on the pass targets from Chris Thompson. so he should get plenty of work this week. So I like Chris Thompson as a sleeper pick here versus the Miami Dolphins. And the other running back from the same team, I don't recommend playing both of these guys in the same lineup, but I think one of the two is going to have a great fantasy day and exceed his value. I like Adrian Peterson from the Washington Redskins playing the Miami defense, who we already know is worst in the league. Adrian Peterson has only scored 5.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 10 rush attempts per game and 1.3 pass targets per game. So this guy is going to get the rushes. Chris Thompson is going to get the pass targets. Adrian Peterson's only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 10.3 fantasy points here in week 6. He's $4,500 DraftKings salary and $800 more on FanDuel. I just got a feeling about one of these running backs versus Miami, so I like Adrian Peterson here versus the Miami Dolphins. Now it's going to be hard to play one of these guys because you got some amazing value at running back that opened up this week. Todd Gurley is going to be out, so that opens up the starting running back position for Malcolm Brown, who's only $4,300 DraftKings salary and $500 more on FanDuel. And he's not going to be sharing the load like Chris Thompson and Adrian Peterson, but he's got a much tougher matchup versus the San Francisco 49ers. So that's why I think that Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson are still in play, even with the value from Malcolm Brown. There's a script that Malcolm Brown fails here in this tough matchup versus the San Francisco 49ers. So just keep that in mind. Malcolm Brown's going to be about 25% owned. He's definitely the favored value running back here. But for big tournaments, a guy like Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson at low ownership, if they score more than Malcolm Brown, you'll be way ahead of the field. Okay guys, if you're getting any value from this video, please hit that red subscribe button. We put out new fantasy football videos every day. So if you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell notification, you won't miss out on any of our new fantasy football videos. Tons of free stuff coming your way. It only takes a second, and it helps us push out more fantasy football content for you guys to consume each and every day. It's because of you subscribers that make this possible. So thank you for supporting this channel. Okay, FanDuel and DraftKings sleeper picks for week 6 at the wide receiver position. I like Terry McLaurin from the Washington Redskins playing the Miami Dolphins, who have the worst defense overall and give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Terry McLaurin has averaged 17.7 fantasy points per game on the season. He's getting an average of about 8 targets per game. He's only going to be about 5% owned. He's on the field for 96% of the snaps. So he's always out there, runs a ton of routes. He's projected at 13.8 fantasy points here in week 6. He's $6,000 DraftKings salary and $400 more on FanDuel. This is a fantastic matchup. The Redskins have Case Keenum back there, who's a capable quarterback. He should be able to connect with Terry McLaurin. This guy's been a great fantasy producer throughout the season, so I like Terry McLaurin here versus the Miami Dolphins. Okay, another sleeper pick for week 6. I like Stefon Diggs from the Minnesota Vikings playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Stefon Diggs is averaging 9.7 fantasy points per game on the season. He's only getting an average of 4.6 targets per game. He's only going to be about 1% owned. I think he's poised to have a big game. The squeaky wheel paid off last week. I'm sure Stefon Diggs has been doing a lot of chirping, so I'm sure they're going to try to get him involved this week. He's projected at 13.5 fantasy points here in week 6. He's $5,900 DraftKings salary and 100 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44.5 points in this game, Minnesota Vikings favored by 3.5. This is a home game. I think they get Diggs involved. Fantastic matchup. So I like Stephon Diggs here versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL, MLB is still going, NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, DFS Week 6 sleeper picks at the tight end position. I like Jared Cook from the New Orleans Saints playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 6th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Jared Cook has scored 6.2 fantasy points per game on the season. He's getting an average of 5 pass targets per game. He scored 14 fantasy points last week off of 6 pass targets. He's gotten 6 targets in the last 2 games, so that's encouraging. He's only projected at 2% ownership. So this is a low ownership tight end pivot play from the chalk at the top end. Jared Cook is projected at 7.3 fantasy points here in week 6. He's only $3,400 DraftKings salary and $2,200 more on FanDuel. So I like that DraftKings price. He opens up a lot of salary for your other positions. So I like Jared Cook here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. You've unlocked the bonus content.
My super secret sleeper pick for week 6, I got 2 of them for you here. For my first pick, now there's been a lot of talk about this guy, so I'm surprised to see his ownership as low as it is. I like D.D. Westbrook from the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the New Orleans Saints, who have the 12th worst defense overall and give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. D.D. Westbrook has averaged 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 10, 12, and 15 fantasy points in his last game, getting an average of 7.4 targets per game. He got 11 targets last game. He's only going to be about 4% owned, on the field for 75% of the snaps, touches the ball 15% of that time. He's projected at 12.5 fantasy points here in week 6. He's only $5,100 DraftKings salary and $300 more on FanDuel. I think he makes a great pivot play from the high ownership of DJ Chark, who's a little more expensive on this slate. DJ Chark is going to be about 15% owned. Compare that to D.D. Westbrook at 4% for lower salary. If D.D. Westbrook catches the touchdowns, you'll find yourself jumping ahead of the field. So I like D.D. Westbrook here versus the New Orleans Saints. The other sleeper pick I like at the wide receiver position is Auden Tate from the Cincinnati Bengals playing the Baltimore Ravens, who have the 10th worst defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Auden Tate has averaged 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 14, 9, and 12 fantasy points last game, so he's been on fire, averaging 6 targets per game. He's only going to be about 2% owned. On the field for 98% of the snaps, he touches the ball 11% of that time. Projected at 10.3 fantasy points here in week 6. He's only $4,500 DraftKings salary and $900 more on FanDuel. There's a high total in this game 47.5 points. Auden Tate is a good wide receiver, getting plenty of targets. Tyler Boyd is taking the main coverage, leaving Auden Tate open for some big plays. He's got a great matchup this week, and I think he's going overlooked at only 2% ownership. So I like Auden Tate here versus the Baltimore Ravens.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite
Player for this NFL slate.
I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.
If you guys are looking for more DFS picks for Week 6, subscribe to this channel and check out the videos and check out our final look video. We go through every position, break down almost all the good plays on the slate. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos, and get caught up for this Week 6 NFL Sunday. Good luck, everyone.